episode 393 of Global from Asia Rising Sun, talking about Japan, things happened during COVID, and some great opportunities for those looking to enter the market. Let's do this.
Welcome to the Global from Asia podcast, where the daunting process of running an international business is broken down into straight up actionable advice. And now, your host, Michael Michelini.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching or listening. I don't think you're watching as much as you're listening, but I got a nice little background here in my light, in my little creative space, doubling down like never before with content creation, business, like trying to not burn out. But we are making things. There's just so much happening. I feel like the world's unfreezing. China's reopened. We're going to do a Canton Fair tour in April, phase 2, 23rd to the 27th. Join our newsletter to be more informed. We just sent out a newsletter about it. But that's later. Today's show, we are talking about Japan. Gary Huang, Seven-Figure Seller Summit, 80/20 sourcing, friend of mine, was in Shanghai for quite a long time and got into Japan during COVID and spent a lot of time there and decided to relocate his whole family, his wife, his child, and everyone, and he's making a lot of things happen there. It's been a fascinating conversation about his story, Japan, the opportunity, and an amazing conference that he's organizing coming up right in April. So it's one good opportunity for you to consider in this hidden market in the Rising Sun. globalfromasia.com/rising sun for show notes, links, videos, transcripts, whatever. Let's tune into the show. And then after, I did a little bit of blah, blah, blah about some thoughts. All right, let's tune into Gary. Are you looking for a cross-border logistics company from Asia to the East and the West? Then look no further. CrossBetter Logistics is a solution for you. From ocean shipping to air freight, from factory to 3PL warehouse, Amazon FBA, and Walmart.
CrossBetter Logistics is an experienced service provider for e-commerce sellers and B2B traders on TPS Trade. As a GFA partner level sponsor, let them know we sent you and they'll take care of you. Check them out at www.crossbetter.com today.
All right, we're here with another Global from Asia podcast. A friend of mine, previous guest, Gary Huang. It's great to have you today, Gary. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. It's great to be on here with you, Mike. Last time we met up, we were in Bangkok, and now I'm in Japan. So the world is moving very quickly, but yeah, super excited to be on.
Yeah, it's, we've been keeping in touch. We got to meet finally again in Bangkok, but yeah, it's been a crazy few years. We'll talk about a little bit of your experiences these years and also some insights about Japan. So yeah, I know you from, you're like me. I think we do a lot of things. You're a seller, you have your 80/20 sourcing, and you also do the Seven-Figure Seller Summit, which has done really well over the years. I've shared at it in the past. So you've been through quite a bit, right? I mean, maybe we just start off with that. Like, do you want to? I mean, I think where do we start? Or did I get everything of your intro? I mean, there's really some cool stuff you got going on.
Yeah. I mean, I think you covered a lot. It's the pandemic. I know, Mike, your family has been moving around as well.
Yeah.
We both have young families. We have that commonality for become entrepreneurs, Amazon sellers, and you do events as well. So I think we have a lot of intersection, and that's why I enjoy talking to you, because it's like, fatherhood, entrepreneurship, and Amazon income. So we have those like intersections. So I guess like, where should we start? Like during the pandemic, like the move to Japan?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm feeling like, I think a lot of people know you as in Shanghai, right? You did meetups there, and you were there for quite some time. And then I think, I can't even recall myself, so I'm almost curious, but I feel like did you leave because of the pandemic, or was it just happened to be before?
Okay, I'll just give the quick overview. So I'm from LA originally. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, went to school there. I moved out to Shanghai in 2008. So I lived in Shanghai for 11 years. I met my wife there. My son was born there. So we lived there all the way up until 2019. So I still remember at that time my son was 1 year old. It was around November, Thanksgiving. I was freezing cold in Shanghai. My wife and I discussed it. We're like, we want to go somewhere warm. We want to get away from the cold. This was all before COVID.
Yeah.
We didn't know what was going to happen. So I guess, you know, serendipitously or whatever you want to call it, we left China with two suitcases. We planned to travel for a couple months in Southeast Asia. So we went to Thailand and then we went to Vietnam. And then COVID hit. I think it was towards the tail end of our trip in January, and we were scared to come back to China. And then, my wife had a Chinese passport, and then she already had a visa to Japan. So we're like, okay, let's just extend our trip to go to Japan because she has a visa. And so we just set on Okinawa because we were transiting through Hong Kong. It was a short flight. My son was like 1 year old at the time. We didn't want to go so far, but we didn't want to do Trans-Pacific, 12-hour flight back to the States. So well, okay, let's just go to Okinawa. So, I mean, long story short, we ended up living in Japan for 2.5 years because, I still can't go back to China. I still can't get the right visa. And so we couldn't go back to China. We ended up staying in Japan on the tourist visa legally. We were not illegals. The Japanese immigration was very accommodating. Every
Great.
3 months, I think they knew us by the second 6 months that we were there. Every 3 months we would go back to renew our visas. And, because we couldn't go back to China because of COVID. So, basically we lived in Okinawa for 2.5 years because of COVID. And yeah, we were very fortunate. The government was very accommodating, and, it's great weather down there. People call it the Hawaii of Japan. A lot of
That's true.
nice beaches, scuba diving. And I know you've been to Okinawa before
Yeah,
as
I've
well,
been
right?
there.
So, yeah.
That's currently my only Japanese experience. It was a startup weekend, like Asia Summit or something for different organizers when I was doing startup weekend. And I just remember, it makes sense. I've been to Hawaii too, so I would agree. It is like the Hawaii of Japan or Asia. It's like I saw a lot of golf courses and amazing
Mhm.
beaches, resorts. It's a
And they
nice.
wear those Hawaiian tropical shirts as well. They have their own Okinawa spin on it. So
Oh,
the
really?
workers there, it's totally anti-Tokyo. Tokyo, everyone's in suit and tie, and then in Okinawa, like I think officially spring until autumn, everyone's wearing a short sleeve Hawaiian shirt. They call it the kariyushi. It kind of has a Japanese Okinawa twist on it with the symbolism, which is kind of cool. But yeah, a lot of similarity to the Hawaii there. So yeah, we were there until October of last year, and then finally Japan was opening up, and they finally decided not to renew our visas anymore. You have to find a way to go home. I didn't even know where home was anymore. So
Yeah.
we still wanted to live in Japan because we really enjoy the culture here, and then there's opportunity here as well because while I was here in Japan, I started selling on Amazon Japan because I noticed that even when we were living in Okinawa, people were getting Amazon deliveries everywhere, right? And then Amazon is the biggest, online platform in Japan. They overtook Rakuten, so you can get everything. Yeah, you can get everything on Amazon. I'm moving to a new apartment next week, and I asked the realtor, hey, where do I go for furniture and refrigerator and stuff? He's like, go on Amazon. It's fast, free delivery. They here in Tokyo now they do same day delivery, so you can get groceries, you can get electronics, I got power banks. Yeah, it's super convenient. So yeah, October last year we decided to go to Thailand just because of visa issues, and then with our goal of coming back to Japan because I am starting up a new company in Japan, so that would enable us to stay long term on a business manager visa. So we went to Thailand, which is we went full circle back to Thailand
Yeah,
since 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we met up. Mike and I met up in person in Bangkok to do that. We're very fortunate that we were able to get the Japan visa done. While we were in Thailand, we went to the embassy to get it done. So long story short, we just moved to Tokyo about less than a month ago, and yeah, I'm organizing the first ever Amazon conference in Japan. Literally Nobody's ever done it before. I thought before, like people have done it in Japanese, but it turns out nobody has done like a full-on Amazon seller focused conference, even in Japanese. So we're going to do
Wow.
this in English. It's going to be April 4th and 5th. I think it's going to be great to help sellers to learn how to sell in Amazon Japan, which not very many people are talking about.
Yeah, for sure, man. I mean, it's really, I didn't know they overtook, I can't remember how to speak that. Rakuten. I thought, yeah, I mean,
Rakuten, yeah.
Rakuten.
Rakuten, yeah, they were the biggest player, but Amazon has overtaken them. You see, like the Amazon Prime, like delivery guys, just like running around to like Tokyo,
Interesting.
kind of like the U.S. And they have like Amazon Fresh, like the grocery equivalent as well. And yeah, man, you can get everything on Amazon. A lot of potential, and then yeah. So, and I was talking to Amazon as well. We were in contact with Amazon Japan Tokyo office as well as their US office. Amazon actually they reviewed our event, they checked our site, they looked at the speakers, and they said that they want to get involved. So Amazon is actually sending someone from Seattle. They're going to fly them in from Seattle to Tokyo in April to speak, to share some best practices about Japan, how to really scale up your business, how to build your brand, also on the advertising side as well. Yeah, I'm very excited about the
Yeah.
opportunity there.
Yeah, I know. Like you said, we've been working on it for a while and we've been chatting about it. And I didn't know it was the only first one ever, even in Japanese. So it definitely seems like,
I thought, yeah, I thought that they had like Japanese events previously, but apparently it was either like an event like Amazon did just, on site, only with Amazon presenters, or it would be like a service provider and then they would only have their own, one company presenting. But there's never been like a full-fledged conference that entails, sellers. Like we have an 8-figure seller presenting, Bernie Thompson. He's been selling on Amazon Japan for 10 years. And you have 7-figure seller, Nick Katz, who I believe you
yeah,
know as well.
Nick's great. Yeah.
He's generating north of, yeah. And then he's been in Japan for 30 years. He's like my go-to guy. Any question about Japan, whether it's business or just like life, or even where to get like a cheap suit, like so I can blend into the Japanese business culture. I mean, I asked Nick, he's like the Japan guy.
Yeah, he
But
is.
yeah, I mean, yeah, but yeah, this is like the first ever, full-fledged Amazon conference that anyone's ever done. So
Okay.
literally we're like the first movers to do this.
It's
Yeah.
great.
So yeah, yeah.
It's really exciting. It's really exciting. So yeah, we'll definitely, dive into this more, but I'm also want to talk about the story a bit, or you're seeing Amazon everywhere. I mean, this is 2020. I mean, so was it something you saw kind of grow, or is it something with this Amazon growth during pandemic, you think, or before? I mean, I'm even curious
Yeah.
because
Well, I mean, just to be transparent, I've only like lived in Japan since the pandemic. So I can't really
true.
comment, since before the pandemic, but during the pandemic, there was a state of emergency. So, going outside, retail shopping, in-person shopping, that was discouraged. So, many people just resorted to shopping online. So Amazon did get
Yeah.
that boost. Amazon Japan did get a boost as the rest of the world, right? But now, even though Japan is open, I'm sitting in a like co-working cafe right now, very busy, and people are still using Amazon. I mean, I think just a perfect example is like that real estate agent's advice,
Yeah, you
because
were
he helped us
saying.
find a new apartment, and apartments in Japan are non-furnished. It's literally just 2 air conditioning units and a bare floor. So he's like, go on Amazon, fast
Interesting.
delivery, and yeah, I think there's huge potential, and there isn't. I mean, I don't know if you want me to comment more on the Amazon side or like
I mean,
the
I think,
company
I
here.
guess
Yeah,
you're saying
you
during
can.
the pandemic, I mean, I guess the whole world was buying online. I mean, I think the whole surge to e-commerce, but I know you don't know before pandemic there, but I'm just, I mean, yeah, I mean, how was it? I think it's just what you've seen in the last few years in Japan, even during pandemic till now. I mean, I think they were the last ones to one of the last countries to even open up, right?
Yeah, yes, yeah. They didn't open it until November of 22. So they were one of the last ones, and they were very, very conservative, and they have like restrictions against like Chinese sensitive topics. But I think most of those restrictions have gone away. But yeah, things in Japan, like culturally, they don't move as quickly as some other places in the world. It's more, I guess, conservative, so to speak, or it takes more time to get stuff done in Japan. It's like probably the opposite mentality of like a Thailand or like a China.
Got it. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I think that's the main point of the economy. And so, I guess the next point, which we've kind of chatted about, is the opportunity for Amazon Japan. So like, yeah, we mentioned Nick. Nick was on the show a few years ago, I think, right at the beginning of the pandemic, maybe, or right before it. And I didn't listen. I haven't reviewed it again, but I swear when I talked to him, it wasn't a number one. I remember him was talking about even other two or three. I remember him saying like the other two are bigger, but still Amazon Japan is big enough to make your market. So if you know Amazon Japan, I remember him saying something like this on this podcast before. At that time, he's like, it might not be the biggest, but you know it already. You already know it in the US or your other markets, and it's still big enough in Japan, even as a second or a third. But now it's the first, so it's even a little bit of a different perspective because it's the first. But you've been kind of getting me excited in this talk, but by being the biggest now. So you're, of course, I know you have your event. I know you've been there a few years, so you probably have a bias to it. But can you give us the pitch for the opportunity for a current seller in the US or Europe or to come in?
Definitely. I mean, I think the number one thing is the lack of competition, because even though Japan is Amazon's number 4 biggest marketplace, not many sellers are considering it, and not many people are even talking about it, right? I mean, it's not like a hot topic, which is kind of ridiculous to me because it's the 4th biggest marketplace. And at the same time, the level of competitors, there's actually fewer competitors selling in Japan than in, even if you compare it to like Italy or like France, right? Those markets are much tinier than Japan, but there's fewer sellers, right? So lower competition. I think probably the biggest advantage for if you're an existing seller selling in US or selling in EU is you can move your listing from US or EU with your review to Japan. So with 0 sales history, Japan, you can have the same number of, like, if you have 2,000 reviews, or if you have like even 200 reviews, you can instantly get the same number of reviews and start selling in Japan. So Japan has a lower review threshold compared to US and EU. So instantly you'll have that social proof. And then that can help you with even 0 sales history in Japan. That can help you get a head start. And it also can help you. And another reason to sell in Japan is lower PPC cost. So the PPC will be lower for the same products versus US or EU. So I think there's a number of advantages, to sell into Japan.
Got it. I think maybe give us a little other side of the coin. I mean, the obstacles, a little bit of the things you have to overcome. For me, I'll just be honest, Mike, I think it's kind of the bias. People feel like Japan is more of a closed market. Just my own, I don't have any data or proof, but I just feel like it doesn't feel like it's open of a market generally.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest challenges, I mean, besides language and culture, of course, but I mean, you can overcome that because, I mean, to be honest, even though I've lived here for 2.5 years, I still don't really speak Japanese, and I'm kind of ashamed of that. But I mean, you don't need to know Japanese to sell in the market. Central has a full English interface, and on Japan Seller Central. And if you hire a VA, like a Japanese VA or assistant, they can help you with all the customer service side. And there's also agencies that can help you with localizing your listing, beyond translation, images, all of those details. So there's always a way around it. I mean, I look at it this way, right? There's like the challenger, but if you're able to overcome these
Yeah,
challenges, this is like a barrier to entry against your competition,
exactly.
right? Because most people will not be willing to invest the extra
That's a good
time and
point.
effort. So yeah, so they'll be outside the moat. So you will have the moat, to protect you against your competition. But yeah, definitely there's differences, there's challenges. I think number one biggest thing is to import into Japan. You can't just use your US LLC that you can use like many other countries. To legally import into Japan, you need a company with a Japanese address or like a person with a Japanese address. So you will need something called an importer of records. So you can't, as a US LLC, be the importer of record. It has to be someone with a Japanese address. But there's companies out there, like importer of record companies that work with sellers. They can act as your importer of records to get around that. So I think that's one big challenge that sellers will face. The other is Japan has their own set of compliance and testing laws and regulations. I
Mm,
don't mean for Amazon Japan, but Japanese own like customs law. So for
yeah,
example,
important.
and yeah, importing, right? So anything that touches food, whether it's actually like a supplement or even like a cup, you know, you have to make sure that it's compliant, it's tested using Japan's own. They have these appointed laboratories, so you can't just hire any SGS, anywhere in the world. It has to be like one particular laboratory or their appointed laboratory. So those are some of the challenges. There's also some misconception. You don't need a Japanese company to operate business in Japan. You don't need to register for a company. There's also another myth. You don't need VAT registration, like GST, to sell in Japan. There are certain thresholds, but it will be easier than dealing with that. All the additional layers of bureaucracy. But yeah, I think those would be some of the biggest challenges that sellers would face
Got it.
selling into Japan.
Okay. And this has been fun. So maybe we start talking about your conference. You mentioned at the beginning, the Seven Figure Seller Japan Mastermind.com. You said April 4th and 5th, 2 days. I think there's also some fun stuff before and other activities, but the core event's a full day event. As you said,
Yeah.
which I just learned in this call is the first official Amazon content, even English or Japanese, about Japan and Japan. So that's really, really cool. And
It's not official. Let's.
oh, sorry
I
to
don't want
say,
to
I
say it's
should have.
official Amazon. Yeah, yeah. It's
I was
not.
kind of,
But yeah,
yeah, like not
it's
official,
yeah,
but
but it is
first,
an Amazon quote
Amazon
unquote conference.
focused event.
Yeah.
Yeah, Amazon focused event. Thanks
Yes.
for correcting me.
Yes. Yeah.
So what I see,
Yeah.
the site, we'll link the site up on the show notes. I'm looking at it as we talk. Yeah, there's great, like you said, Nick Katz will be there. I've also seen some other good, you mentioned, like Rob Stanley and others. So the format is like, yeah, because it's got a really good niche focus. What kind of people should come, do you think, are the better people to come?
Yeah. Yeah. So if you're already selling your products in the US or EU, and let's say you're growing, you're scaling it, you want to take it to the next level. If you want to expand it overseas, I think Japan is a great market, fourth biggest market. And again, you could carry over your review, right? So you're not starting from scratch. And, we've had a number of case studies of sellers successfully selling an additional $300,000 a year up to $960,000 a year in Japan. So this can be done. And I think the key is, it's going to be a 2-day in-person event. We're going to keep it pretty intimate, about 50 to 100 sellers. So this way you'll have plenty of opportunities to interact with other sellers, with, the service provider. So, we were talking about importer of records. There will be at least one, maybe two importer of records there, so they can answer all your questions about importing product, about the compliance testing, about localizing your listings. We'll have these experts as well about PPC, about Japan marketing strategies. There's native marketing apps in Japan, and Facebook doesn't work very well in Japan because Japanese people don't really use Facebook. But there's native Japanese marketing social media channels as well. So literally, I think the biggest takeaway is not only learning how to sell in Japan, but also building these content, right? Because I don't know about you guys, but I wasn't able to find a lot of information on Japan, online. So basically everyone's going to be there. And also, Amazon's going to be there. So we're going to have someone from Amazon US and someone from Amazon Japan. So you'll be able to ask questions directly to Amazon, and you'll be able to build possibly a relationship with Amazon because I'm pushing them to offer some incentive to the people that come to this event.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm kind of like twisting their arm and like fighting for you guys. Like,
Awesome.
I want these guys, like the first movers, I want you guys to have every advantage you can get. Right. So you'll be able to get FaceTime with Amazon, in the 2 days. We're also going to have breakout small group mastermind session in the afternoon. So we're going to take everything you learn in the morning, and then we're going to turn it around. So, you guys will be able to share about your business right now. Like, hey, maybe with this product, I'm not sure about Japan. What should I do? But I have a question about importing, right? So it'll be a hot seat format. So, I mean, if Mike, you've probably been in a mastermind, right? There's kind of like
sure, man.
some like vulnerability, right? You got to share about, not just your success, but, what's going wrong with your business. So this way you can get some real feedback from other sellers. So, I mean, there's a degree of like serendipity to it, right? Because we don't know which group you'll be in, but I always feel that when you get together with other sellers, like-minded sellers and speakers, you'll get a lot, so much more value out of it that if you're trying to do this by yourself, right? Because we're coming out of the whole pandemic, and I think, now is the time to kind of, regroup, kind of pivot your business in 2023. So I think those are the main things, my leaders are doing. And also, as you mentioned, we got some like fun stuff planned as well. If you want to hear more about that, like, cause it is Japan. Japan's like, one of the coolest places in the world, not just like the food, but like there's different like, cultural things going on at this time as well. So I don't know if you want to like,
there was a cherry blossom time, right? Is that what it's called?
Yeah. So like, Japan, I think it was like the number one most wanted to be like visited destination during the pandemic. So now Japan's fully open. And one of the most popular times of year in Japan is during the cherry blossom or the sakura season. So this is one of the reasons I designed the event to be in April, because the cherry blossoms will be in full bloom. So it's a beautiful time of year to be here. But not only that, so after day one, April 4th, like in the evening, we're going to do a networking event in the park, in Tokyo Major Park, under the cherry blossom tree. And then this is actually like a Japanese cultural thing that some people don't know about. Like during the cherry blossom season, like the salaryman and the salarywoman after work, they actually go down to like the park. They lay down a picnic spread with, sake, beer, bento sushi boxes and stuff. They drink the night away. So we're going to deliver that flavor, give you guys a taste of that you can only get in Japan, nowhere else. So, I think that's, a great way to network with other speakers, other sponsors as well. So that's something that we're going to do if they want. And then the day before we start the pre-events, the registration on April 3rd, we're also going to have a reception in kind of like a little low-key Japanese bar / restaurant, like an izakaya restaurant. So we'll have free flow drinks, we'll have food, so it's another great chance to get to know the other sellers, get to know other speakers. Because I've been to a number of events, and most times I learn more just like talking to other people, like not necessarily in the conference room, but maybe over like the lunch table or maybe like over a beer or something. So I think I'm trying to like create the right environment. So, people with a good balance of, learning and also like networking, building relationships. Cause I think that's key, for our business success.
Sounds really, you definitely put a lot of thought in it with the timing. We had even chatted when you were in Bangkok. I know you've been really preparing for this. I think you also put together a little bonus for some of the listeners. I think a certain amount of first come, first serve. Maybe should we share it in the notes, or I could just link it. I could just put it on the show notes maybe, but I think we got a little.
Yeah. I mean, I also, I wanted to help out with the Global Forum Asia community. I know that, Mike puts a lot of work into, his podcast, and he's a super busy man, but I just wanted to offer a little incentive. So if you guys are interested, we're offering $400 off the ticket. So this way, I mean, it's 2 full days of the conference and the mastermind and the meals. So lunch will be included. I'm making sure like it will be like a delicious And the food is going to be awesome. And so you guys will get $400 off with coupon code GFA Japan, GFAJAPAN. So yeah, but that's only for the first 10. So I mean, we offer that to everybody because, obviously we have our own expenses, in Japan. But yeah, just hopefully that helps some people that might be interested in joining us.
It's great. No, definitely it's appreciated to help some of our listeners and viewers out. So, all right. Yeah. I mean, I know, like you said, we're both making things happen, super busy. I'm really happy to see you pushing ahead with this event. I know it's a lot of things to do, but it looks jam-packed with value. So, all right, Gary, I think that's all for today. Is there any last things you want to add?
I think, some of the frequently asked questions about Japan, just for people that might be on the fence. Number one, do you need a visa for Japan? If you're coming from the US or if you're coming from a European country, I think there's about like 80 countries that can go to Japan visa free. So you probably don't need a visa, but if definitely check. And the other thing is, a lot of people think that Japan is super expensive, but actually the Japanese yen is very weak right now against the US dollar. I think last year it was at about a 30-year low. The exchange rate was a 30-year low. So it's actually, some people might be pleasantly surprised compared to the inflation that you're seeing in the US and a lot of other parts of the world. It might be affordable to come to Japan right now with the weak yen. So just a couple of things to keep in mind going forward. And yeah, I think other than that, I think, again, it's a good opportunity and, it's safe, it's friendly, people are friendly here. Yeah. Great. Looking forward to it.
It really sounds good. Thanks so much, Gary, for coming on again.
Are you going to join us, by the way, Mike? Are you going to come to Tokyo this time around?
I want to make it. Maybe by the time the show comes online, I'll confirm with the family. And everything.
Yeah.
But I really want to go.
Yeah, you should come. If you can, you should come. It's a great time. I'd love to have you.
I know. I have, like I said, only been to Okinawa, so it's kind of like you said, it's a lot different than Tokyo. So it seems like a great chance.
Yeah, it's gonna be awesome.
Awesome, buddy. Okay. All right. Well, thanks,
All right.
Gary.
Well, thanks so much for having me, Mike. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, man. Really been great. And thank you to our sponsor, our returning sponsor, Mercury.com, online bank. Well, it's a real bank, but you can do it totally online for US. Our Blimp program participants are going through this as well. Thank you, Mercury. Travis is great there. He's been on our show. He's been in our events. We're going to have another event where we will have them attending as well. And if you want to get a little bonus for you and us, if you sign up and do some special circumstances, you can go to globalfromasia.com/Mercury. I also have a video tutorial that we use even for the Blimp people. I use the same exact video to learn how to use it. I hope you can check it out. Totally free. Why not? See you there. Thanks, Gary, for sharing. I got some insights. Honestly, like I mentioned, we had Nick Katz on the show a couple years ago. And we'll link that also in the show notes if you want to dive into that one. And I don't recall it being discussed as the biggest market in Japan of Amazon. I think that's a new update, and it gives you even another reason to enter this market. I think a lot of people feel like there's big barriers and more complexities. I know a lot of people talk about Europe. We were talking about Europe with Nick before, just a few shows ago, and maybe you should look at Japan. And this is an interesting opportunity. Of course, head out to meet Gary and the other amazing people there at the event. And Amazon will be there and a lot of things will be happening. So definitely check out his offer. And we got a discount, as always, for our community here and listeners of GFA. And I just am excited about what the world is going into. So now in my blah, blah, blah session, China's been reopening. We're planning a Canton Fair trip there, and we are doing lots of stuff. I'm trying to hold on. I'm also getting to know Amazon pretty well lately. It's like Gary's mentioned, in Singapore, in Vietnam, in Thailand. We're doing another meetup on February 25th, just a few days after the show goes online. It's already planned. And next week's show, or the next show, will be the recording from the first meetup here in Chiang Mai. And there's just, I just feel like everybody's into this networking, right? Gary's got his Japan event. There's, Canton Fair. There's these meetups. There's workshops. We got Cross Border Summit coming in November here in Chiang Mai. It's a good time to come out. So much happening. I just feel like it's this pent-up energy from years of being locked down. So I think I'll keep it at a wrap at this point. Thanks for listening and watching and sharing and liking and feedbacking. I haven't even checked if we got reviews on these platforms, but so much more in store. Thanks for listening. Have a great day. Keep taking action, even every day. Just even a small little action, it snowballs. I feel like that's how it is here in Global from Asia and the community and people I talk to. You just keep chipping away. And one day there's going to be breakthroughs. Some days are going to be a little bit harder. Honestly, I'm a little bit exhausted right now. It's been grinding like non-stop. But we get these breakthroughs and we sometimes got to take a little bit of a breather one day and just get some things done. Maybe we'll get a haircut later and just make it happen. So globalfromasia.com/rising sun for the show notes. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
To get more info about running an international business, please visit our website at www.globalfromasia.com. That's www.globalfromasia.com. Also, be sure to subscribe to our iTunes feed. Thanks for tuning in.